Stop what? What's wrong with the GOAT, AJ Styles? Do you have a problem?
All right. Colin's GOAT.
I don't have a problem with AJ Styles.
Mine is Shawn Michaels, the greatest performer of all time, in my opinion, is Shawn Michaels. Who's your GOAT?
You're gonna hate me for this, okay? But I'm gonna. When you're saying performer, what do you mean? Like the people, like just like wrestling ability, like or they have everything.
I personally, I define it differently. In terms of stardom, I think that the way I do it, I always talk about this. There's three guys, however you want to rank them, in terms of transcending the business, big matches, popularity, crowd pops, ratings, their era, everything. It's Hogan, whether you like it or not, Austin, whether you like it or not, The Rock, whether you like it or not. The Rock's crossover ability is unparalleled, even before he became a full-time movie star. I like to put that out there. Right. So that's that. Here, a tap here below. I know I'm going to upset. I'm going to upset a lot of the younger people who watch this. I'm going to upset a lot of y'all, but I'm sorry. Cena is not that level. He's not quite that level. He's a step. I think he's a step down, half a step down from those three. And then after that, you got you got Ric Flair there. Ric Flair, Andre the Giant, stuff like that. So you have the stars. That's what I look at that. In terms of ring ability, just big match ability, and performing at a high level every single night, having the best match every single night, having those moments, and like no matter what, win or loss, it's HBK for me. So for me, when I say best performer of all time, greatest performer of all time, that's what I mean by that.
So that's your GOAT.
Yes, that's my GOAT. Of course. So in terms of performer, who is your GOAT? That's what I mean.
First of all, let me agree with you when I say that I don't think that John Cena is all that. He was given like this black, watered down black gimmick, and like they ran with that shit. So he's never been my pick. Yeah. Well, I
like Cena too, but I'm just saying.
So that's the thing. I like Cena, and I think that some of the things that they did with him was like definitely cool, right? But it doesn't hinder the fact that I don't really care for his character because his character is like blackface. Like that's it. Period. Like he's a blackface character. But my performer, I don't know. Like
You're gonna say AJ Styles. I'm done.
No. I wasn't gonna say AJ Styles because I do like AJ Styles, but again, he was one of those people who also during the time that I wasn't able to really like being into wrestling at the time, that's when he emerged. So like I really don't even like know all of his best matches for real. I know what I see and he's great. But
yeah, he would beat Shawn Michaels.
All right.
I don't think so. I would have to say HBK would win because I think that he would probably just sweet chin music him while he's in the air, and that would probably be like the moment. Performer, I really don't know. I am going to tell y'all a very big secret. I am a very big. So everybody's an Undertaker fan, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm a bigger fan of his wife than I am of the Undertaker.
Michelle McCool.
Michelle McCool carried the division.
Oh gosh, I gotta tell all this.
I'm sorry, but like she carried the division. Like she made the women's division seem like likable in a time where it was like none of the girls were actually performing.
Here, I want to say something. I will say
that's the reason why I like Cena, because he carried the company when nobody else would do nothing.
It's true, but I will say this.
He had it on his back for a few years.
I will say this about Michelle. I just want to say this, Rashid. Lay Cool was a very, very good tag team. They were a very entertaining tag team for a moment. I will say that. There was a moment in time on the roster where Lay Cool, obviously Michelle McCool and Layla, were the most entertaining tag team on the entire roster. I will say that. I don't know I forget how long it lasted, but there was a time where that was there.
And what's crazy is I've been like going back and I've just been watching like old pay-per-views. They actually were in the works longer than I thought. Like they were at least like 2 years strong. Like, and I didn't realize that because all of that time seems very blurry. But see, the thing about Michelle McCool was it was like she was good, right? So she was like this face character, and we got to see her capture the Divas title, right? But as soon as she lost that title, that's when the Hill came, and we got to see so much more great so much more great mic work. She beat the greats like Beth Phoenix and Mickie James, like you know what I'm saying? Like she was the unstoppable, like she was it, like she was probably the Charlotte Flair before we had Charlotte Flair, like you know what I'm saying? And I'm very biased, right? So like everybody pays attention to the men's wrestling. So like I'm very like I pay attention to a lot of the women's wrestling because I think that they need a little bit more, recognition, right? And so she was able to just kind of like create cohesive. They used her for great storylines, right? The only thing that I think that was kind of like annoying was the whole P. James thing. I was like, this is kind of interesting and weird.
So let me ask you this. Who would be your GOAT woman wrestler? Who would you say is the greatest woman wrestler of all time?
That's a great answer. That's a great question. Let us go with...
I think you already said her, to be honest with you.
Right, I have said her, but she's new, right? So she's new.
You said China earlier for number one.
Okay, cool. So like...
Yeah,
I think that China I would have to, but see the thing is, I'm thinking about story though, right? So like, there's so many more elements to like, to wrestling and in WWE specifically, like they've been able to like create, so many great storylines. And so when I think about the greatest, I have like tiers, okay? Like I have tiers. So I think the most like underserved would have to be Sasha Banks. I would have to say the overall greatest would have to be China. If I would have to say second greatest, if I would have to say somebody from my time who was great, would have to be Beth Phoenix. Like
she's up there. Yeah, that's
because
she was consistent. She was great. She was a good performer. She was the second woman to be in a men's Royal Rumble. She trailblazed in many ways. Definitely, that's not. Yeah,
it's one of those things where even with her, like she was, they talk about how like Sasha and Bayley played a big part in the tag team thing, but they forget like her and Natalya tried to do the whole tag team thing in the beginning, back when they were together as well on like SmackDown and stuff. So she really trailblazed a lot. And I wish that they would give her kind of that like push and axe to come back and do things with the women like they're doing with Edge. Because I think she has more years ahead of her than Edge does, right? Yeah, but I think, and also I would just also have to say Naomi underused, but who I would have to say I think is just going to be my overall by the time I die is probably going to be Bianca Belair. So let's just yeah,
I feel that. No, it's just one of those things. You have to see how the career is going to pan out and everything like that. But I don't know. For someone when I look for all the years I've watched pro wrestling, and seeing the different eras and everything like that, like there's the eye test, right? And me particularly. Like when I saw Bianca Belair, I'm like, oh, that one right there, her. That's a wrap. Like kind of like when Bret Hart saw The Rock for the first time, he said, He said that guy's going to be the guy. That guy's going to be a ridiculous star. Like that guy right there. Like he's doing.
Like think about somebody who's just like. Sorry, not to cut you off, but somebody who's been recruited by Mark Henry, right? And he's like, and he told her, he was like, what I'm saying, I can introduce you, but that's all I can do. Like, what I'm saying, I can't take you any further. So to be brought somewhere on the word of Mark Henry, and then to now be getting all of these praises from legends, right? We're getting praises from legends. First of all, when you hear Paul Heyman speak highly of somebody, I'm like, even though it's a character, I'm like, yeah, like they're definitely going to be far because Paul Heyman doesn't just give anybody an okay, right? In his character. But then it's just like, yeah, like she's just, yeah, like, yeah. That's really it. I would have to say that my goal all time, I'm sorry, just to answer your questions.
No, go ahead.
Would have to probably be, I'm going to go with HBK as well. Definitely going to go with HBK.
Sexy boy!
That's my favorite thing. Yeah.
No, HBK,
height, right? It's like the height. And it's like, him, and that's the thing, and I think that's why I'm making my decision, because it's like him, and I see it in Bianca, right? Whenever you have a heel that people are cheering for, like they were in NXT, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's just it. Like, you know what I'm saying? When you have a heel, like AJ Styles, like, you know what I'm saying? Like you said, like, he's a heel, but people cheer for him. You don't hear the audience booing, you hear the audience cheering. Because it's like, all the mic presence, like, you know, the mic presence, the technical skill, like the athleticism. It's like they just embody it. And I think that HBK had that. I do think that John Cena, in a sense, has it, but not like as advanced as somebody like HBK. Yeah, like The Rock, Hulk Hogan, like y'all said, like whether I like those people or not, you know, they have it. Like they just have that feel for the audience.
No, yeah, definitely, yeah. That's definitely my Mount Rushmore of goats. Yes, I do joke around, but yeah, Shawn Michaels would be on top of my list because he did it all. He did it on the heel side when he had with Triple H, when DX, like he brought China in, like he did the heel side. He was a super, like he's HBK, like basically like even when he came in with Marty Jannetty, you saw it then, and then he just transcended. So since we're talking about Mount Rushmores, I gotta ask you, this is just way on the side note, who would be your Mount Rushmore for the women? Because it's like Trish Stratus.
That's easy. I'm going to tell you something. That's easy for me, right? So people give me pushback on this, but I'm going to tell you, she brought very different charismatic energy, and we got to see in-ring development. And because she was the face of the WWE's women's division for a very long period, that would have to be Kelly Kelly. She's not the greatest in-ring performer.
Wait, pause.
Listen, Kelly.
She's not the greatest. Listen, she's not the greatest in-ring performer, right?
Whoa, Rashid, whoa.
I have to think about those people who like got the crowd.
Rushmore?
Okay, maybe I should scrap her. Okay, I'll scrap her.
No. I gotta hear what you're saying. I love it.
Go for it.
So, like, in a time where it was like, you have to remember, like, Kelly Kelly won technically the World Heavyweight Championship for Edge against Michelle McCool and Layla, right? So it was like, and that was like a handicap match, right? So that was like one of the greatest times of like my childhood, was seeing like her win that, and it was like she was the underdog. She was the underdog, and she was always able to overcome a lot of things. Like anybody who beats Beth Phoenix for a championship or to hold on to a championship, like, yeah, girl, like it's it, right? But I think she just had that build around her. So even though she wasn't great, we did still get to see her improve a bit over the years. And you have to remember, she started very young. She just got thrown into it, right? So to see her go from like this, you know, she was like the girlfriend of who was she the girlfriend of? On ECW. She started on ECW as somebody's girlfriend. Then she did that like
was it Chrissy Hemme?
No, she was like this man. He was like a man's girlfriend. I don't know who he was. I forget who he was. But then she did the whole extreme expose thing with Layla and the other John, right? You see her on like, she like, you know, goes to SmackDown, and then she's like on Raw, and you're like, she's getting bigger and bigger, and then like, you know, and it was also like this fear, like this like this presence, this like non-presence of fear that she had. So even though she would be in the ring with like some of the like biggest competitors, she wasn't scared, right? Whereas though you have people like the Bella Twins, who are, even though they were antagonists, they were still easily intimidated by people, which is why they had to like, you know, resort to certain fear tactics. So again, in-ring ability, not so much, but the charisma that she brung and like how she was able to hype up the crowd, it's unmatched. Like, you know what I'm saying? She like, when you hear her thing go off, when you hear her when you hear her music go off, the crowd gonna get hyped no matter what. But I am still willing to, like, she can be my honorable mention. I can give you 4 people. It's crazy because I don't think that. See, I think that Trish and Lita are one, and you can't separate one without the other. Whereas though they try to make Trish like bigger than Lita. When I would say that Lita was a better performer, but like Trish was just like, you know, she had the it factor. Like she was a blonde, well, you know, not a natural blonde, but she was a blonde. She had the body, like, you know what I'm saying? She was just like,
she improved in the ring a lot.
Yeah. I even think about like Kelly Kelly with like Trish status a little bit, right? Because it's like they were trying to make her like the prototype but she never quite got there, and then she left the company before she could get extremely well in the ring. And again, that's like my era. But I would like,
it's tough.
And that's the thing, because it's putting two of them on. But I would have to say probably Trish and Lita would be number 1 and number 2.
Okay.
And I would have to say Chyna.
Okay.
And I would have to say, that last spot is looking very triple threat-ish. It's getting very much Jazz versus Jacqueline versus Sasha Banks.
Okay.
It's looking very triple threat.
Yeah, that's real, because Sasha Banks is the biggest today. Jacqueline was a trailblazer back in the Attitude Era, and back in the Attitude Era, Jazz was big in ECW, and also killed it in WWE too, and other promotions, and is killing it right now, by the way. It's I hear that. Who would you choose out those 3? We're good. Before this is done, you're going to choose that 4th person.
I'm just going to choose Sasha Banks.
Okay, Sasha Banks. Okay.
I'm going to give Sasha Banks. I just don't think that a lot of people are like. I feel like I could talk to some people about Jacqueline and Jazz, and they'll be like, "Oh, great, we can have a cohesive conversation." But given today, like a lot of people try to, like, a lot of people forget that Jacqueline won the Cruiserweight Championship. Like, and so like. Yeah, so I would just have to say Sasha Banks, just because like having somebody from every era would probably be best. So Chyna was kind of like, she was still around the time of course, Trish and Lita, but she was like doing a lot of different stuff, and like she was a different kind of woman at the time, right? Like that changed, seeing her like, when she was DX, right, and she was like real buff, to even she came down a little bit in size and stature when she like started wrestling women, right? So seeing her just transcend, like she is the 9th wonder of the world. But Sasha Banks just has something special about her. She has a very like she has the Bianca it factor. Like she has the Bianca it factor as well. But she's very go get 'em. Like she doesn't, Sasha Banks is really it. Like she's it. Yeah. That's my Mount Rushmore. Yeah.
Good stuff. Thank you for that.
My regular Mount Rushmore look a little. I wonder what y'all's would be.
For women's or just Call go for it.
Women. Trish would be on top of my list, just because like to see her as a manager coming out with Test and Albert, and to transition and work her way to who she was. Like I felt like that helped set all the other people coming in WWE. Like, hey, you don't have to be a manager. You can wrestle and become a main event wrestler on top of that, and become a champion. So I thought like her, that the impact that she had, that's definitely one. Lita the same way. Even when she came with S.A. Rios, but her career changed when she went with the Hardys. I mean, hell, it showed that. I mean, she would do Hurricanranas and everybody else, even off of the freaking cages, like she would do. So Lita would be 2. My 3rd. I can honestly say would be Chyna. First women Intercontinental Champion. Not going to take that away from her. She should have been in the Hall of Fame way before now. Triple H let that go. And honestly, 4th, this is probably going to be weird, but I'm going to have to put Stephanie in there, because Stephanie, believe it or not, has had a major impact behind the scenes and in front of the scenes. What she did coming in, being side by side with Triple H, having numerous characters coming in as Tessa's girlfriend, Triple H. I mean, they had really got married in real life, but she was the husband. Then she came in as like the corporate ministry with Shane. Then she came back as the Authority. Like she just had so many different hats, and she wore them all well.
Good. I like that.
Honestly, I think she's good at playing the heel and the hero in WWE. And for women, that would probably be like, I can't think of anybody else that can play heel as good as her. Well, Charlotte can. Becky tried. Ronda really tried. It didn't work.
But that's the thing. Like, I don't think that like Charlotte is like Charlotte. I really just don't see her as like a heel or a face. Like I just like she's like that anti-hero. Like she's like she has her own motives.
She's a tweener.
Right, she has her
Yeah,
own motive, but like she still like straddles the fence. So it's like,
but that's the difference with Stephanie. You know when she's a heel.
exactly,
You know when she's good. I feel like
exactly.
Charlotte doesn't know what she's trying to be, and she's confusing on screen.
Like even right now with her, Asuka, and like Lacey Evans and stuff like that. So I'm like, so do you want to go after Asuka for the title, or are you mad at Lacey Evans? Like the way they bombed that whole storyline was just like, okay, cool, great. And I mean, I know Lacey Evans got pregnant, but great.
And then my honorable mention would have to be the Queen of Hearts, Natalya, just because she's done that. She's done everything you ask her to do, and WWE still doesn't give her the correct push, in my opinion. But she does everything, and she can technically wrestle anybody in that locker room like this.
It has strength.
That would be my honorable
but
mention.
That's the thing, like she's strength them. Like, you know what I'm saying? I think like that's the craziest thing about it is like we don't see a lot of people. Like it's like Finley almost, right? Finley was training these people and then going in the match and like getting these people over, and that's what she does. And so it's like she's not given the credit that she. And I felt her when they had the whole like who would you like create for like $5 or something like that, and she was like really mad and because she was like at like the $1 spot. And I get it because she should be up there with the great. And yeah, that was really wild. But I also get other people's point of view where they're like, yeah, girl, you don't speak up for other people like that either, though, sometimes. So I feel it. It's a double-edged sword. But I agree with that. I would have to agree with that. That was a good one.
Yeah, Colton, I pretty much agree with that, man. Because I was having some issues with the fourth. The top three it's clearly Trish, Lita, Chyna, however you want to, I was trying to think like more like who would be that fourth, like are we just talking WWE or are we talking about everywhere? Because that changes things too, because there's people from Japan, there's people from other promotions who killed it. But I think Stephanie is I can't really argue against that one, man. That's pretty good. Like Stephanie,
you actually might have to have me like rearrange mine because
that's pretty good.
That's good. What you call it? Yeah, that was a good
it's crazy because a lot of people look at Stephanie. Well, yeah, she's the daughter. Yeah, she's the daughter, but she's also a 2-time women's champion. She did have that. She did wrestle. She did do her own.
It's not even really wrestling. It's just her impact, though. It is true. Like she has, in terms of some of the biggest storylines, like in the company's history through the eras, she, like you said, you mentioned, she came in, she was Test's girlfriend in Triple H. She set off the motion. She pretty much was hand in hand with Triple H becoming one of the biggest heels of all time and one of the biggest WWE superstars and wrestling superstars of all time. She literally goes hand in hand with it, like through the years. Then she becomes the manager on SmackDown. She was the manager on SmackDown. SmackDown was like the best show on in wrestling. Like she was really she was the main person with that. And then you have she was with the Authority with Triple H too. And she's really been like kind of like the like everything with like Ronda coming in, the Bella Twins. Like what I mean is that like Colin, it's like that's in another way that I didn't think of. She could definitely be in the argument for that fourth slot behind those three. I guess if an honorable mention, I would say a Natalya. I think whether people like it or not, Charlotte gets overpushed in my opinion. But Charlotte Flair is the Four Horsewomen. They really changed the game for modern. There's so much talent with the women coming in NXT and all over. Like it's not even it's another level right now. And those four really set the precedent for that. So like I have a tough time. Like it's tough for me to choose between Bayley, Sasha, Charlotte, and Becky. I think Sasha is I think she has a total package out those four compared to everybody else, but so does Charlotte. It's so tough. It's really tough. So But
that's the thing. I think that's what divides it. Like I think exactly what he said is what like creates the divide between Charlotte and Sasha, because again, when Sasha turned, as soon as last week Sasha smacked Bianca, we were like, oh shit, she's a heel again, right?
Sasha's
like there
heel
was
is
no.
amazing. She's a great heel.
Like exactly, and
Yeah.
so that's the thing. It's like with Charlotte again, like she straddles the fence. So it's like, is she doing this? Is she going to do that? But it's never. It's always predictable as well when Charlotte does something, right? Whereas though Sasha can do something 5 times the same way, and I'm like, great, like we're back. Like, you know what I'm saying? Sasha's back to a heel, and like that's when she gives some of her best work. Like they forget, like her heel era, like in the last year, is what got her the top spot in you know, as the #1 superstar in the world this year. Well, in 2020. Mm-hmm. So I think that's what creates like the clear indicator of who's the better 4 horsewoman out of them. Like Becky is cool, but I just think that also like they have that, like WWE has a thing with playing up like that whole like race and ethnicity thing, right? So we always have to be hype about the Irish person or the Samoan person. Yeah, just really those two, Irish people and Samoan folks, like they really up them a lot. And so because like we've never really necessarily seen like an Irish, like somebody who's really dominant as an Irish woman, I think they gave Becky that because like, you know, we have people like Sheamus and
they were really
they were
when she first came to the main roster, they were really big on that. With the steam punk and all the music and everything like that. I see what you mean with that. But I will say this about Becky Lynch. In terms of so the Mount Rushmore, I thought that we just said for including Stephanie in there. Like in terms of that wasn't Stephanie's not in there for ring ability. It's because of like impact. That's why I think she'd be a good mention for that. But Becky Lynch, she really, you know, her man gimmick really she killed it for the past like couple years before she left to raise her child and everything like that. And you know, I don't think that she like. I'm just saying, I'm going to sound so biased because I saw the Attitude Era was different, you know. The Attitude Era and the Ruthless Aggression Era, the crowds, like people were trying to say Becky's the most popular like woman superstar ever. She's in the argument, but I can't say she was bigger than Lita or Trish or even China. I don't know. It's tough. She's up there. She's like, I'd say like she deserves a seat at the table. Like if we want to talk about it, I'm not sure she's the head of the table. I mean, I'll mention Sable. Sable wasn't the best wrestler, but Sable was competing with Stone Cold Steve Austin during Stone Cold Steve Austin's peak year of popularity in terms of crowd response. Like WCW, like they said in documentaries, like Kevin Nash was saying, I think, it might not have been Kevin Nash, I forget, but a prominent superstar from back then said they would worry when Sable would come on along with Stone Cold. Like, that's how big she got during the height of rating wars.
She got big, but I couldn't even put her up there because I can put, what's her name, way over, what is her name? Macho Man's wife.
Oh, Elizabeth.
Elizabeth, if she was there, would have killed her. Easy.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my gosh. Of course, Miss Elizabeth.
I couldn't even.
All right.
I like.
So that was the thing about that era, though. Like that was a good thing about that era.
She was just a manager, though, because you got Sensational Sherry. You got so how we gonna like if you're talking about.
Here's the thing. If you think about impact wise,
the
fact that she never even wrestled, she still kills. She still kills Sable. No offense.
Sure. I hear you.
Same thing. And then Sunny, Sunny had that. Sunny was up there too, but she was the
era.
Sunny was the first era. Yeah, she was the first one. But I think impact wise, I would still put Elizabeth over her too.
But that's the beautiful thing about it, though, is that like we've seen the generations, right, and we get to understand and see that just because somebody isn't necessarily a wrestler doesn't mean they don't have the impact in the company,
that's
right?
True.
And like the women have been very crucial in a lot of the men's like, you know, successes and stuff. I even think about what was her name, like Charnel or something like that. Charnel and King Booker. She played a big part in like how he was able to get over a lot in his period as like King Booker, right? So it's like that impact. So like that's the thing about like WWE where it's like interesting because we can talk about in-ring ability, right? But then it's also those people who are just, you know, like I would even make the argument that again, the McMahons as wrestlers versus the McMahons as, you know, actual like
characters
actual characters and being like those managers and, you know what I'm saying, like, you know, actual managers on the shows. Like, I think that's one of the worst things they did with the company was like not allowing, like not having a McMahon being at least a general manager of one of the show like all the time. Because when you seen that, like, they know how to give you a match on the spot or like, you know, make you think that it's on the spot. We know that they were planned in advance most of the time, but they know how to, when they're actually involved all the time, they know how to give you something great. But when they're just letting other people just run the show and give ideas and stuff like that, it falls short. Like, I like Adam Pearce, but it's just not working. Sonya Deville honestly has given us better matches than he has in like the last 2 months than he has in the last year. And I don't get it.
Exactly.
Do you think that a women's match is going to main event WrestleMania again? And who would you bet would be in that main event?
If there were women?
Yes.
I would have to say I would like to see. Well, yeah, I would like to see Sasha and Bayley like next week. Like,
so you want to see Sasha versus Bayley in the main event of WrestleMania?
I mean, not Sasha and Bayley, not Sasha, but Sasha and Bianca. I would like to see them next week. Okay. But if not them, I would like to have Bianca gain some start. You know who I really want to see? I want to see in the future Zoe Stark and Bianca Belair, because Zoe Stark has really been eating the girls up in NXT. Even though she hasn't like won, right? But like that in-ring capability and being able to go toe-to-toe with Io Shirai, like that was crazy. That was crazy for me to see. Even her being able to go toe-to-toe with Raquel Gonzalez was crazy to me, because that's something that other people on the roster who have been doing this longer than her can't do, right? So I honestly, I mean, a lot of people don't necessarily know who Zoe Stark is, but well, they may not, they may, but I think Zoe Stark and Bianca Belair would also be like one of those main event like star matches. Like,
you can see that in the future being like a big, awesome. I think that we know WWE, whether people like it or not, Charlotte is going to be. I feel like if they're going to put another main event in, and if Ronda Rousey is not in the equation for it, by the way, I don't think she will be. I think she's done, but we'll see. I think that I could see a Bianca Belair versus Charlotte Flair in the future, a Sasha versus Charlotte Flair in the future, or look out for Rhea Ripley. I think Rhea Ripley she's going to be pretty big. She does, if not, aside from Bianca, I think Rhea Ripley checks off a lot of boxes too. I just think Bianca's better, but I think Rhea Ripley she has an edgy gimmick. She has a little bit more edge in terms of just like that look and that aggression. But so if Bianca wasn't in the picture, I would say look out for Rhea Ripley. But I could see the two of them, let's say like Rhea Ripley's really young, y'all. She's like 23, 22, 23. So she's got 15 years at least. Like, and she would still only be 38, right? She's got a long time if she wants to be in it. And Bianca's pretty young too still. So I think she just turned like 31 or something like that. And wrestling years, like that's like still like Batista didn't win his first championship until he was 36. So I'm just saying, like, wrestling is a different animal with this stuff. So those two, Rhea Ripley and Bianca, I think could rule the women's division in the future for a while. And Sasha Banks is still young; she's not even 30 yet. So they're all going to be in the mix. The future of the women's division in the WWE, if they do not implode on themselves, is looking brighter than ever. No question.
Absolutely.
For mine. If WWE does it right, I would love to see Bianca versus Naomi in a one-on-one. Because if they do it right, I know athletically they got it.
Yep.
I think storyline, they know how to build it up. I think they're somewhat the same, like intensity-wise. I just think they both can bring the house down if WWE can get a good storyline for them and just let them go at it. I think they could tear the house down.
Carlton, I agree. However, they were right. It has to be the storyline, because if they're just going to be if they do those two and it's like two sisters having a problem with each other just because it's a problem and it's something like so predictable like that, it would lose. I hope it's more than that if that happens. That's all I'm going to. You know what I mean? You know how WWE can be. So,
I mean. if they do it right, I mean, look, they both got husbands that wrestle. Like they could start talk. Like they could just bring in like the husbands to be like, yo, like it's crazy.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. If they do it right, it could be pretty good. So
and that would be great though, because you think about it, like they could do a full on all out like storyline around like just that connection in itself, because you could have them, going for a championship while simultaneously having the Street Profits and the Usos going for a championship, right? Like, and they could build that. They could make them like, their own entities, but also bring them together in certain points. And like, they just don't think about things like that. Like, but we think about it, and so that's our fan fantasies, and
right.
Yeah.
So I want to say a couple things. I want to bring it back to WrestleMania first in Philadelphia, by the way. WWE. Just want to from Real TWC, PhreedomJawn. We are Philly through and through in terms of, Philly is the best wrestling city on the planet. It's the best wrestling city in the country. There's so much history here. There's the arenas, the 2300 arena, which used to be the ECW arena. Even in the Philadelphia metropolitan area, the training facilities in Allentown, in the Lehigh Valley, like the whole area is like it's like legendary. And bring WrestleMania here, like we have the best fans. The layout is perfect for what y'all want to do. Everything in the sports area is located in one area. You've got Xfinity Live, which could be used for multiple events. You've got the Wells Fargo Center, which could be used for, Monday Night Raw, the Hall of Fame, SmackDown, NXT, whatever you want to do with that. You have the Citizens Bank Park. You have the Lincoln Financial Center. Whatever you want to do to pick one, I guess it would be Lincoln Financial. Put a freaking Liberty Bell on top of the ring. So if you're worried about rain, like you did in Florida, like do that. And bam, there you go. And you have the convention center to hold all your other events. It's
honestly
made out for it. Like there's no reason that it shouldn't happen. We liked it when y'all gave us the Royal Rumble. That was cool. We knew that was the consolation prize. That was awesome when you gave us like the 4 nights, NXT, Raw, SmackDown, and Royal Rumble. That was cool. But we knew it's because you didn't want to give us WrestleMania at the time. Bring WrestleMania to Philly this decade. We will not let y'all down. Period.
Period.
Exactly. Period.
So
yeah, man. Yeah, my questions are done, man. My questions are done.
Yeah. I guess that was PhreedomJawn. It's been Rashid. It's been amazing having you. Is there anything else you'd like to add about anything you're doing next? Anything that's popping off for like your account? Anything? Any? Do you have any ventures you're trying to do with this new platform you have? Is there, what's on your mind in regards to all that?
I really have no closing thoughts. I really just want to say thank y'all for inviting me to be on this platform. Again, it's such a relief to be able to not have to talk about social justice all the time. It's amazing. It's essential, but also people don't realize wrestling is essential to my life as well. So it allows people to see a different, layer of who I am. And so I appreciate it.
Of course, man. Pleasure having you. And if you ever want to, let's do this again, man. You have a lot of wrestling knowledge, and we have at Real TWC, we're going to be expanding really soon, as obviously as stuff begins to safely and smartly open. As long as the right protocols are in place and whatnot, we're looking into seeing what we can do there. In the future, PhreedomJawn, we're going to try to be hosting some events and stuff like that. And, once this pandemic is all past us, or like stuff is safe, and, everyone is properly vaccinated and we have this behind us, we'd love to see you live, man, in person and rock it with us while we're watching a pay-per-view. So,
if you drink, I'll buy you a drink, brother.
Yes, pretty soon I am hoping that I can throw a WrestleMania party one of these years. Maybe next year.
For sure. That's awesome.
Yep.
So, all right. Thank you, man. Thanks for being with us. We appreciate you. And, keep rocking on and have a great day, man.
Rashid, thank you, brother. Appreciate you, bro.
Talk to y'all soon, okay?
Talk soon. Peace.